Welcome back to another New World video. This time I wanted to bring you my thoughts and views on the New World Aeternum beta. If at any point during this video you either agree with me or you disagree with the points that I'm bringing up and then sort of like my opinions and my takes, yeah, let's see what you got to think down in the comment section down below. Now obviously this beta was out from the 13th to the 16th of September, and for the first time ever it was available to Xbox and PlayStation 5 players alongside PC, all in one server that you can play on. Now, the first thing I noticed straight away upon launching the game, something that was a little bit new for the beta, they finally added a DirectX 12 support. Now, it is stated as like an alpha version of it, so hopefully they're going to improve this, you know, by the time October the 15th comes around. But yeah, instantly I noticed, like, just graphically, I don't know whether this was just sort of, you know, one of those tricks to the mind, you know what I mean? But where you see the DX12 and you're like, is it better? Is it? But then I flipped back and forward from the main game a couple times over the last few days, and there's definitely a difference with this DX12 set and enabled. As soon as you launch the game, it did look a little bit better. Now, but talking about the performance of the beta though, so for me, like I said, I stream the game and stuff like that. So when I've got OBS running, I noticed the audio and the FPS in OBS when I was recording and when I was live streaming the game was a little bit out. The audio was a little bit out and the FPS was dropping below that sort of 60 cap on OBS. Sometimes you're dropping down to 55s and 52s, which when you're live streaming the game then looks awful. Because normally on NewWorld I stream the game, again, every area is different, isn't it? But two comparable places, if I'm sat on that exact same beach in Windward, for example, on the current live version of the game, I would be hovering anywhere from, I don't know, 90 to 140 FPS as like an example. But then on the beta version I was a lot lower. I was more like 60, 70, and sometimes I had to cap the FPS down to 60 just to make it stop OBS from lagging. So hopefully they're going to bring out some improvements before that comes out on October the 15th. But in general, my thoughts on that is it definitely looked a little bit better. There's like a crispness to like the images and sort of like the graphics and the colors. It did look that little bit better. Maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but it definitely looked a little bit better to me, but needs a bit more sort of improvement. Now, the opening cinematics and cutscenes, this is something you probably already heard about in multiple videos, and even in my last video that I uploaded, but those opening cinematics and some of the cutscenes that they've added are genuinely phenomenal. They look so much better compared to that original one from 2021. If you launch into the game now and you the original game, this is for New World, and you just make a new character, watch the opening cutscenes. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them. They kind of just stop. It's not even like a full story. But yeah, these ones that they've added for the beta, absolutely phenomenal. I might even just play one for you now. I might play like a 30-second clip really loud straight after this, just so you can see exactly what they look like if you missed out on playing on the beta.
You have stolen what is mine. And now, you will join me. No matter. You will be mine soon enough.
Now, the character selection, I didn't see a massive difference. Obviously, once you go past these cinematics, you get the character selection, and you know you're picking all you. I picked the same hair as I did in my live game. The big purple afro just look hideous and stupid and sticking out. But yeah, so not a massive change in terms of the character. I feel like there's a couple of different options in there. Slightly better looking again, when maybe that's the DX12 talking. But yeah, so character selection not too different, but I'd say fractionally improved compared to the standard version of the game. And then we move over to the archetypes. Now, what I would say about these archetypes are basically they're just put into the game to try and help new players kind of see what sort of weapons go together nicely, which again, when we bring out more guide videos leading up to the full release of New World Aeternum, you'll see more of this info. I won't spam you with too much here. But the best thing I did like about the archetypes was the fact that they actually give you a small boost to a couple of the different crafting options, which I actually really like. Again, this is going to be a whole new guide video on that, and I'm gonna work it out for you exactly before the release which one you should choose in order to probably save you some hassle in terms of leveling those up yourself from scratch. And then obviously save yourself some money as well, because some of those ingredients you might have to buy. And I'll work all that out for you before the release. And I actually like that. So this is like one of my first, other than the cinematics, which we mentioned before, this is one of my big first where I'm like, that's a nice little change, because now you can just pick the archetypes, even though you might not like those 2 starting weapons that they give you. You might like that little boost in getting up to level 50 crafting to save yourself some time and money later on in the game. If you're worried about the archetypes, by the way, don't worry. Like, as soon as you get onto the beach, you can just run straight into town, or one of the different quests will give you sort of like different weapons, and you're not stuck with those weapons. You can change your weapons in NewWorld and NewWorld Aeternum whenever you want. That's not a problem. Then we come to swimming. I mean, again, it's been such a meme on this game. Like, pretty much every single game that's ever come out since 2021 that has swimming. I feel like if I'm watching someone random stream or some YouTube like review on a game, they always kind of like have a little dig at, oh, this game's got it. NewWorld's still not. And, you know, NewWorld been then 1 year out, 2 year out, 3 years out. It's still not got swimming. I don't think it's going to be a massive thing in the game. I think it's one of them. They probably added it just to kind of shut the haters up. Do you know what I mean? Which is fair. You know, how did this game not have swimming in there? It's took them 3 years to add it, but it is now in the game. Looks smooth. Feels fine. But I can't imagine us swimming that much in the game. Most of the little creeks and streams and stuff in NewWorld, you can't swim through them anyway. They're not deep enough. Most of them, not all of them. And then obviously if you go out to the beaches and you fall in the water, at least now you won't drown. Like in Dynasty Shipyard, for example, the barrels explode. You land in the water. Sometimes you can drown. You can drown, sorry, if you don't make it back. So yeah, swimming's now in the game. Now, landing on the beach. One thing I loved about the beta was just you land on that beach. I mean, it does. It takes you back to 2021. You just got several hundred players all running around. Now, key differences, for example, or improvements, should we say, for this beta compared to the normal game. So back in the day in 2021, there's 3 different locations that you could start on the beach, 3 different areas, and your friends, you'd probably in place A, place B, place C, and you'd all have to try and meet up. That's still in this game, but now there's only 2 places. There's just Windswood and Monarchs. So you and your friends might all log into the same server. Half of you might get Windswood, half of you might get Monarchs. That is a little bit annoying still, but I understand why they do it. They want to split the player base up a little bit. They don't want, 4,000 people, which is like the server limits at the moment, all on one beach in the same place. Bit of a bad idea. But one thing I will mention about this area and landing on the beach, NewWorld have had their own version of layering. They call it sharding. It's the same thing. Once you've got, I think their magic number was something like 120. Once you've got 120 players in the same exact compact area, which doesn't involve key gatherable in the game, they're not going to put it in those areas, but key places like the beaches and towns and stuff like that, they've now got layering. So you may only see roughly 100 to 120 players in your area, but really there's probably like 1,000 players there. You just can't see them. It's on layering. So big upgrade there, I think, which is now coming into the NewWorld tournament, and obviously it was in the beta this weekend. Now the level and pace, for me, absolutely solid. Maybe even like a little bit quick. I think I played maybe, I'm trying to remember the exact amount of hours before I hit the level 30 cap in this beta, but I think it was probably 4 hours maybe. And I wasn't speeding through. I wasn't reading every quest. I was playing all the cinematics. I was letting those play out, so that was probably draining a bit of time. And I wasn't rushing, but I did want to just get to level 30, just have a little look around, see if anything had changed. But going all the way back to 2021, way faster leveling experience, way better, just more enjoyable. Everything was better. And one of the key changes they made really early on, if you guys all quit the game back in 2021, you probably missed this, but I think they reduced the overall amount of XP you needed to get from 1 to 60 by like 50%. So even before bringing in all the new quests and stuff like that, yeah, way better leveling experience. If you're one of the players who kind of quit because you didn't really enjoy that leveling experience, I can personally guarantee you now, you would enjoy this at least by a lot more. You might not find it perfect or, the best game out there, but it's a massive increase. Now, obviously some of the downsides though, there's still a couple of little quests in the game. So for example, I can't remember the exact level I was, maybe like level 15 to 18-ish maybe. There's a particular quest in there where you got to kill 3 cougars. Now literally only 3 spawn in that little area. I stood there and I waited for them all. Literally only 3 spawn, which is really annoying. And not every single one of those cougars, when you skin them, you need like a specific item. I think it's like meat or something. Not every single one of those 3 cougars even drop the meat. So if there's multiple players around there and you're not all in a group and you're not, getting sort of like the shared kill bonus and the shared gatherable bonus, then you could be sat there on those little quests like in typical MMOs for like 15 minutes just waiting to kill 3 cougars. It's one of them. I opened up the bug report in game, and I've reported it, named the quest. You pray that they just add a couple more cougars, or they speed up the mobs from respawning, which I did notice pretty much throughout everywhere else on the game in this sort of level 1 to 30 beta areas. They have sped that up. The amount of mobs I see literally respawning maybe like 45 seconds later, I thought was like quite impressive compared to where it had been a while back. But still, couple of quests in the game where you are, at the moment, unless they change it between now and October the 15th, you are kind of just stood there waiting, hopefully to get those. Now, after the quests, the MSQ, that main story quest line, honestly, night and day different. So I don't even remember the MSQ from back in 2021. It was that sort of like mind-numbing and not interesting and nothing to pull you in. There was almost no cinematics back then, no cutscenes. There was no voiced AI for almost all of the MSQ, which there now is. There's voiced AI for, I think, almost everything, or voiceover, should I say? It doesn't necessarily have to be AI, and just way more engaging, way better presented. It gives the players now, if you try it and you go through the MSQ and you don't just tap E all the way through it and skip it, it gives the players like a better chance of learning the lore in the game. If you're interested in the lore of New World, now if you follow that MSQ, honestly, night and day compared to in 2021. Now, one thing I did notice, just skipping back to the archetypes there, so there's a thing in New World, and this has been in the game for quite a while now. It's been in there for a whole year. It's called the loot biasing system. So basically, whatever kind of weapons you're holding, you can hold 2 weapons at the same time, unless you include a shield, then you're 3. And obviously, depending on what your armor type is, so if you're wearing like light chest or light overall or medium overall, they're the types of items and weapons that drop naturally throughout the world more often. So it's basically the game saying, look, you want to use sword and shield and, for example, medium overall armor, fine. We'll drop you more sword and shield and medium armor, which is, again, fine. When it comes to build diversity, there's a way around that. You just got to equip some light gear and, go open chests and they'll give you more light gear. But what I'm trying to say here about the archetyping system, the only negative I found for that is, so I chose the one just to be random. I think I chose Greatsword and Blunderbuss, right? A combination I've probably never used in the game, but whatever. When I was running around, basically, it felt like all of the starting quests was just giving me Greatsword and Blunderbusses, and I didn't want to be that, you know what I mean? I wanted to pick up the sword and shield, or I wanted to pick up the life staff, and it felt a little bit slow for the game to give you those other weapons for you to equip and try on. It kind of like kept you pigeonholed to your archetype, so maybe that's something that they could definitely potentially improve on. The old way was, I think you got a sword and shield, but then on the beach, if you had to look around for 5 minutes, you would find all the different individual weapons and you could just equip whichever one you wanted. So just something to bear in mind. Hopefully that's maybe something they can improve. I get you picking an archetype, but you don't want to stick with the same 2 weapons in New World. You'll never stick with the same 2 weapons in New World throughout the entire game. So something that they could take a look at. Now getting into the first dungeon of the game, around about level 25 is the recommended level, Amrine. So I saw multiple reports of people crashing on the first time they ever entered Amrine. And then obviously, once they crashed, if they loaded back in, it was fine. Now, I personally didn't have that experience. I loaded into Amrine, I think, 3 different times. Never once crashed. So it didn't happen to me personally, but there's enough people typing it out in the global chat and a few Discord DMs I had. So there was a couple of crashings in there. This is something that has already been in New World standard game over the past 3 years. Entering dungeons, every now and again, there are crashes. So some negative points here for the New World Aeternum beta. We were hearing of crashes. Hopefully they fix these. I know there's some bug fixes going into the standard version of the game even now. On October the 18th, I think it is, or the 19th, they're adding those. So yeah, just to be aware, things like, it wasn't affecting a huge ton of players, maybe, I don't know, 5-8% of the player base, but it's enough where you're a bit like, this is not great. I noticed a bunch of UI changes as well. Overall, so this is just kind of down to preference. We've all seen the UI changes. If you compare the live version of the game to this beta, in the beta, it was a little bit more clunky, a little bit more squared off, you know what I mean, like design-wise. It didn't offend me. Like the chat box looked a bit ugly. I didn't like the chat box. That's just like a block of like a rectangular block on the left hand side. I didn't really like that. I wasn't a huge fan. So yeah, UI changes in this beta, not massively for me. But at the end of the day, other than that chat on the left hand side, the rest of it was fine. So I don't mind the new UI changes they put into the beta. One mini little gripe I had, if you obviously press K and go into your attribute screen, once you've got tons of attributes, once you get to a higher level, there used to be a button in there where you could add them plus 10. So let's say you want to put 100 into, say, focus, and you're on, 5 focus to start with. You could just tap up, literally 10 times. You would have 100 focus on there. Now they put it down to only 1. So obviously, when you're resetting your attributes, which is something if you decide to play New World Aeternum when it releases, and you get to endgame, you'll find this out. You will be changing your attributes regularly, sometimes multiple times in a single PvE dungeon. And the fact that you can only +1 these at the moment, when the attributes can go all the way into like 350 and stuff like that, that's not great. So that's a downer for me in those that small UI of the attributes there. I think that needs to definitely be changed. And then one more thing on chat as well. I did notice in the beta that you can see a little logo next to everybody's name, and it will show you like the Steam logo if you're playing on PC, and then obviously an Xbox and a PlayStation 5 logo next to your name every time you chat in any of the global chats. Now, I already noticed it. This is a community thing. This is a human being thing. I don't know what we can do to change it, but there was a bit of toxicity in the beta chats. You know what I mean? Now, whether this is just down to New World players, older players, newer players, or the fact that it's I don't know if this happens in every game where there's PC and console players in the same chat boxes. You guys in the comment section let me know, because I don't really play any other games where PC and Xbox and PlayStation 5 kind of merge in a chat. So let me know if it is the same, but it was quite toxic. You know what I mean? There was people saying like, shut up console noob, and you know, people saying fuck you, you're just a PC player who's old and miserable because you played the game for 3 years, whatever, right? It was just people having a go at each other just based on the logo next to their name. This is something I predict will probably be removed for October the 15th. I did like seeing it though, by the way. I don't know, you know what I mean? Comment section down below. I don't know if you agree with me, but I did like seeing the fact that, you know, there's a ton of Xbox players, a ton of PS5 players playing on the same server as me, who's a PC. I liked seeing it. I don't know why. A bit like if there was like a nationality flag next to everybody's name. Again, not suggesting that, but it would fascinate me. Oh, check it out. I'm playing with a bunch of Turkish people or German people or US people or whatever. But yeah, something I predict that they'll probably remove. Now, a bad one. The PvP aim lock. So again, just type in PvP. I'm not going to make a video on it because I feel like people have already done it. But just type in PvP aim lock in YouTube. You'll see it. When you're playing on console, I think if you hold down the right, I don't even use a pad, you know, the right thumbstick, whatever they call it, you can lock on to targets. Now in PvE, again, who really cares? Now the only thing with the PC version is, or when it was PC, if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, when you're playing like, you know, you're playing with the bow, for example, you have to manually hit your mobs, even in PvE. If you miss, you miss. You know, this isn't tab targeting. So they've kind of brought something in for the controller, which basically means you can't miss anymore. You can just target on, you know, lock on. But then also in PvP, in duels and stuff, people were doing this, and basically nobody likes it. Maybe if you're like, I would even imagine if you're a console player, you wouldn't enjoy this. It's very, very weird to just be able to lock onto your PvP opponents. Like, it's just like, what? It doesn't really make sense. Now, I actually don't even predict, I pretty much guarantee this won't be in the game on October the 15th. And the reason why I say that is, one, the whole community, well, I'd say maybe 75% plus of the community hated it. So hopefully Amazon Game Studios will take that feedback from this beta and remove it for October the 15th. But previously, when control support came out, the devs told us, this was back in like maybe February or something, they told us that it will never be in PvP. So I either think one of two things. It's just a bit of a bug, like they've left it in the game, or they put it in there for this beta weekend to get people's feedback one last time to see, do the community want this? Yes or no? Oh, no, they definitely don't. Fine. So I reckon they'll be gone for October the 15th. Now the big one, the scary thing to name in a, or to call out, should we say, in a New World video is any bugs. Well, listen, as much as they change in this game, and as much as they fix and improve and get better maybe, and other games have bugs. I've seen people play World of Warcraft and they go, oh, you know, bugs, whatever, right? Yes, there's bugs in this one. Now, personally, what I can tell you is now I played over 15 hours over the weekend on the beta. Would have played more, but they capped us at 30. So I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to replay 30 over and over again. So, yeah, I played about 15 hours. And the biggest bug that I got, or the most repetitive bug I got, when you were sort of like mass salvaging your items from your inventory, when I would then close my inventory, some of the logos of the items, whether it be, you know, like a armor or whatever, was just stuck on my screen permanently until I logged out of the game and logged back in. Even when I went through loading screens into dungeons, you know, you get like the whole black screen loading, whatever, and these little item logos were just stuck on my screen. It was really annoying, and that happened every single day I played on the beta. Again, I report there's a bug. We'll see, but I'll be honest, that's what's really weird about this game. I don't remember seeing that bug on the standard version of the game for a very long time, so somehow that one's crept back in. The point I'm trying to make is, in this beta, yes, there were bugs in there. I'm sure, again, comment section down below, did you experience any bugs? Hopefully you reported them. If we've got any chance of clearing this game up, we need to at least report it, right? But yeah, so there's a couple of bugs in the game. I didn't see many others myself. That was just the biggest one, and that's just a UI bug. Log out, log back in, you're fine. Now, this would only be a big issue on launch if you were trying to continuously play and you're on a really high populated server. If you had to log out and then log back in to get rid of those logos on your screen, but there's a queue on your server, maybe for the first couple of weeks while the game's popping again, hopefully, then yeah, that will be a bit of a bigger issue, but they're the bugs I had anyway. Game crashes. Again, this is something that historically on the standard version of the game, you might have heard people report. Me personally, on the standard version of the game in the last 3 years, I barely ever get game crashes. It happens. Every game crashes every now and again. But it's not something that massively affected me. Now, in the beta version of the game, so like I said earlier on, I launched on this alpha version of DirectX 12 support, and I had 1 or 2 crashes, like, quite early on, like an hour or 2 into playing. It was just your standard, you know, your client has crashed, report the bug, nothing crazy. The rest of my entire PC was running absolutely fine, no problems. I also got another crash on when relaunching the game, but I didn't choose the DirectX 12 option. So again, giving my feedback here, give my sort of kind of like review, if you like, of the beta, was a little bit crashy. I will give them some leeway. This is the first time I've seen this DX12 version of the game. I've never heard of it being available for NewWorld ever, so we'll give them a bit of leeway. Hopefully this is something they can patch and increase the performance before it goes live on October the 15th. And then yeah, that just brings me to my final thoughts. Is I can't give this sort of beta, you know, some kind of like holistic, you know, like a 5 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, you know, etc. I can't really do that because it only let us play up to level 30. But if you guys wanted, you know, some kind of a figure out of 10 that I would personally judge this beta, trying my best to just judge it for what it was, not trying to compare it too much to the standard game because, you know, there's always gonna be some biases in there. I don't know, I'd probably hover around about like a 7 maybe, you know, like I give it big points for looking much better on DX12, adding all those cinematics, the MSQ, the voiceovers for the quests, loved all that. How layering worked, there was no like general lag on the servers and stuff like that. You know, you got UI changes in there as well. There's loads of positives in there. Some negatives with the odd quest, like we mentioned. You know what I mean? Maybe they could fix the odd quest here and there. And PvP aim lock, make sure you get rid of that. The odd bug in the game, couple client crashes. You know what I mean? It's like there's a couple of things in there to knock it down a few points. But I'll be honest, if this wasn't the beta, like if I knew for a fact we could play for longer than level 30 and just continue to play and our character didn't get wiped, I would have give it more. Because basically the only thing that knocked me down a bit as well, I didn't 100% have that fresh on the beach, you know, brand new MMO, fresh server, let's go, you know what I mean? Because I knew it was a beta and it was getting wiped, I didn't quite have that experience. But looking around, it looked like that, you know, having all those players bursting in at the same time. So yeah, it's a thumbs up for me in general. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go too high. I'm not gonna, you know, shield the game here and be like 10 out of 10. But also, I'm not gonna shit on it either. I'm not gonna say, you know, it was terrible, it was awful. It was pretty good. You know, the player numbers seem decent as well. I've heard reports of 30-40k players jumping on. And for a 75 gigabyte you know, download of a client, which not everybody wants to do just to play a game to level 30, I can see maybe the numbers being hopefully bigger on October the 15th. But overall, guys, there you go. That's my kind of like review and sort of update on what I experienced over the weekend playing the NewWorld Aeternum beta. Let me know what you think, comment section down below. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Please drop me a sub. Come check me out over on Twitch. Drop me a follow in advance. You'll see me playing lots of NewWorld Aeternum when it comes out. Between now and then, we're going to bounce around a few games until this game releases. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.